Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the onset webinar, Choosing the Right Indoor Temp RH Data Logger to Meet Your Needs.
Webinar topics. Today we're going to talk data logger platforms, USB data loggers, Bluetooth smart data loggers, web-based systems, and we're going to have some opportunity for you to ask questions, type in questions and get them answered, hopefully. All right. First of all, why is the temperature and relative humidity important? Certainly, occupancy comfort is one of the top reasons. ASHRAE has a number of standards that they've put out along with guidelines that specify exactly what conditions should be met in order for about 80% of occupants to be comfortable. You can't make everybody comfortable, but try to get as many people comfortable as possible. You also need to know temperature and relative humidity readings for evaluating economizer performance, for verifying thermostat setback strategies, certainly in the preservation of historic works for museums and artworks. You need to know that and hopefully maintain it rather closely. Identifying mold conditions and the potential for mold. And with all the floods we've had recently, confirmed dry down restoration. Many people are using our data loggers to make sure that mold doesn't grow and also make sure that their dry down has worked completely after these floods. Little logger deployment tips. As far as using indoor loggers, outdoors, that's a no-no. Indoor loggers are not protected against moisture falling, rainfall, that kind of thing, condensation. Never use an indoor data logger to measure outdoor temperatures. Rule of thumb for an average logger is 1 logger per 2,500 square feet. So if you're measuring a large area, you need to know whether this logger will give you the accurate readings. Use 2,500 square foot as a rule of thumb. When you deploy a logger, you never want to deploy it near a vent where it would be blown on with cooling or heating air. You don't want to put it in a place where the sun hits it. Otherwise, you'll get defective readings because of the heating of the sun, or near a door or window. If somebody opens a window and you're trying to get a temperature and relative humidity profile, they'll throw everything off by doing that. Never use indoor loggers in a condensing environment. In a condensing environment would be like a greenhouse. A lot of people, even though a greenhouse is indoors, it is really an outdoor environment. Where do you mount your loggers? You usually mount them at a standard thermostat height, right at eye level, thereabouts. And I know some of these, I've answered some of the questions that were written in earlier, one of which was how long does a typical logger run for? And the typical battery life is 1 year. Here at Onset, we try to ensure that every logger at least has a 1 year battery life if possible, and with a logging rate of once a minute. So we try to maintain that in all of our loggers if we can. Data logger platforms, basically 3 platforms. Actually, there's 4 platforms, but we'll only talk about 3 here. There's USB data loggers. There are Bluetooth data loggers. USB data loggers are traditional loggers. You connect a USB cable to them, download the data from them. When they're done, use a USB cable to set them up. We have Bluetooth loggers, which use the new Bluetooth technology and smart devices. And of course, we have the web-based systems, which use the internet to allow you to access the data via our HOBO link application. USB loggers, let's talk a little bit specifically about those. Those are our traditional loggers. Here's an example and some of the features of the loggers, temp and temp relative humidity. We also have some thermocouple loggers for temperature onlys. Large memory capacity, flexible mounting options, And standard is USB connections. That's with a USB cable and plugged into a PC and connecting to our HOBOware software. They're easily configurable, and you can replace both the temperature, relative humidity sensors and the batteries relatively easy. Here's an example of some of our models. Also, one of our questions that was sent in ahead of time was, what's included when you buy the logger? And I try to put that on all of these. Here's the items that are included with this series logger: a command strip, which is a 3M type sticky device that won't leave marks on the wall. We have a double-sided tape that you can hook it up, and a hook and loop strap, which would go into these handles and allow you to, say, hang it on a pipe or strap it to a pipe or something like that, or some round object. In addition to that, we also have magnets in the back of these loggers, so along with mounting hooks. So if you have a nail in the wall or you have a metal surface you could put these on, they will attach to it and stay there. HOBOware is our premier software. HOBOware Pro is our premier software, and it's used for the USB data loggers. You can also use it for any of our logging devices with the proper downloads. You can actually use it, and then HOBOware will convert those files to any kind of spreadsheet, CSV file, whatever. HOBOware Pro does have graphic and analysis tools in it, and a lot of time-saving tools that would allow you to launch and deploy multiple loggers. All of the HOBOware runs on either Windows or Mac operating systems. HOBOware Pro, if you haven't seen it, is this is sort of a screenshot of one of it. There's a tabulated data up here for temperature and relative humidity. Also time and date stamped. So if you need to know exactly when you had a temperature spike or a relative humidity spike, you can find it up here fairly easily. Again, you can export these items either to an Excel spreadsheet or any other type of file type. And you can also zoom in on the graphical portion of these and take a look at any anomaly that you'd like to look at. There's also statistics and a number of panels that you can look at and delve deeper into the data that you have on there. Moving on to the Bluetooth loggers, and these are devices that are accessible with either an iPhone, an iPad, or an Android device, most Android devices anyway. We have a couple of versions of this. We have just a plain relative humidity and temperature logger, and we also have the relative humidity, temperature, and CO2. We have audible alarms on these loggers. So if something exceeds a threshold, you actually get an audible alarm, something you can actually hear if you're within the building location. Here's the two loggers in the series. There's the MX1101 and the MX1102. Again, temperature and relative humidity for this one, and temperature, relative humidity, and CO2 levels in it again. And again, here's the items that come with those loggers. They actually come with the batteries that you can put in, and they have the same kind of connection options. The range on the Bluetooth logger is anywhere from 60 to 100 foot, depending upon what kind of material you're going through to read it out. This makes it ideal for measuring, doing measurements without disturbing, say, tenants or inside classrooms or someplace that's difficult to get to on your day-to-day operations. Maybe in a security area or something like that you want to monitor and make sure that the temperatures are correct, or even inside of a display case. Any one of those options are can be accessed using our Bluetooth technology. Now, after telling you that we're going to talk about indoor data loggers, I just wanted run by and talk a little bit about an outdoor logger. Again, we talked about the greenhouses and the fact that they are indeed indoor spaces, but they act like outdoor spaces. So for that particular measurement, in addition, a lot of people who measure indoor temperatures and relative humidities need to reference an outdoor temperature and relative humidity readings. So for that application, you'd use this MX 2300 series. Again, these are indoor and outdoor and condensing environment locations. Same interface as our other Bluetooth loggers. The difference, of course, in these are it has a 2-year user replaceable battery. So it lasts a little bit longer outdoors. And they come with internal and external sensors. Here's a few members of the family. Simple MX2301, which is temperature and relative humidity. Here's the 2302, which has an external temperature and relative humidity sensor. And that external sensor can be put into a radiation shield and kept from the direct sunlight and also from rainfall. Items included with this are screws to screw the loggers in and cable ties if you wanted to tie it to a round object, a pipe or something like that. HOBO Mobile is our application support for both the MX series indoor loggers and the MX 2300 series outdoor loggers. Same interface, easy to use, easy to set up. They work, again, as we said, on the Apple iOS operating system or Android devices with Bluetooth. You can view data, check logger status, share the data files, and even look at graphs on it. You can, there's a beep feature on these loggers, at least on the indoor loggers, that would make, will make a noise if you get close to them in case you forget where you placed them. And you also have this HOBO mobile app is a free download from either the iTunes store or the Google Play stores. Data sharing options with the new Bluetooth loggers, the MX series loggers. The data is collected from the logger itself and stored in the app. From that, you can also upload that data if you happen to have an account on our HOBOlink system. You can actually upload the data and store that data in the cloud by using the Wi-Fi connection on the app. You can set it up so that when you collect the data from the MX logger, the next time your phone is within a Wi-Fi supported area, it will upload the data to our cloud and store the information there, and you can download that data later to analyze it and keep it. But it will store it up there for you on the HOBOlink application. Another option, of course, is to email the data right directly to your PC or desktop. Then you can open and look at the data either in Excel, CSV text, or if you download it in the HOBOware file type, you can open and look at it with the HOBOware software. And you can also directly just download it, like I said, to an Excel spreadsheet and look at the data that way. Last platform we'll look at is the web-based systems. These are larger systems by nature, and they also use our HOBOlink interconnect system. The RX3000 system, it's a web-based system. It has plug-and-play operations. It will support, like I said, up to 15 data channels with our smart sensor inputs. It'll also support about 8 analog channels for additional sensors, third-party sensors and the like. The data in the loggers is periodically uploaded to our servers, and then you, with a browser, can look at that data from anywhere in the world. There is alarm notifications with this. You can get an alarm sent to you via a text message to your cell phone or an email. And they are double weatherproof enclosures. They are capable of withstanding the worst kind of outdoor environments. Sensor technology for the RX3000s. We have probes here for temperature and relative humidity. Again, we would recommend that you get the RS3 solar radiation shield to protect that sensor from the sun and the rain. The additional measurements for there's power measurements for the RX3000, energies, voltages, currents, differential pressures, gauge pressures, all kinds of different measurements that you make. The weather, of course, temperature and relative humidity, and any kind of weather station sort of configuration that you'd like to maintain. And again, for the general purpose, the 4 to 20 milliamp signals, pulse signals, and also up to 0 to 24 volts DC input signals from various sensors. HOBO, again, it's a system that's 24/7 accessible to you. The systems themselves report up to HOBO, and you can go in and look at that data from anywhere in the world with a browser. You can customize the display. You can verify system status remotely. If the system will also manage alarm notifications for you. Even if the system doesn't call in, you can get an alarm sent to you that says the system isn't communicating, you need to check on it or do something with it. And you can combine different data devices to look at them in custom data sets. And you can also have the data forwarding system forward the data to another server or another kind of a web platform if you wanted to customize the data delivery display. I did talk a little bit about the battery life and the memory capacity of the loggers. Again, it's the battery life. We try to at least have a 1-year battery life on the logger and allow that logger to log every 1 minute interval, in a 1 minute interval. So if you're logging any 1 minute or slower, the logger should last at least 1 year. As far as software for the loggers, most of the time, the logger, we have a free version of HOBOware called HOBOware, and you can download that free. It does not have the capabilities of the HOBOware Pro software, and we have a comparison on the our website if you want to see the differences in the features from the free HOBOware to the paid for HOBOware Pro. We have some small remote access data loggers with temperature and relative humidity. We didn't talk about this, but we do have a system that will alert you. It's called the ZW system. It's a little more complicated than the average systems. It does require a PC running at the location 24/7, but if that PC is connected to the internet, those local wireless nodes can report the temperature, relative humidity, or other parameters and send out an alarm just like the RX3000, either a text to your cell phone or to an email. We don't have a specific logger that would measure UV light. We do have some loggers that will measure lux. They're relative readings, though. They're, I guess the best way to describe their accuracy would be they were originally designed to verify that the light in the refrigerator went off when we closed the door. So they're not tremendously accurate readings, but we do have some loggers that will measure temperature, relative humidity, and light. Not ultraviolet light, though. Well, if you have HOBOware Pro, you should be able to splice the graph to the area that you wanted, if that's what you're talking about as far as slicing the graph.
I
You
think
should
that
be able
is, yeah.
to pull that out and look at just that specific area and not look at the rest of the data.
All right, here's a question about how far away from a door can you mount a data logger?
Well, that's always a subjective choice. You want to get it, you know, if it's an outside door and it's freezing cold out there, I would try to put it as far away from the door as possible. If it's an interior door, it might not be as critical, but at least 6 feet if you can get it that far away.
All righty. Let's see. When you're replacing a sensor, is there any calibration involved with that?
No, not normally. Our sensors really are more of a plug and play. At least the relative humidity sensors are. Those, we sell replacement sensors and you can install them yourself. They tend to set themselves up and will report back properly just when you replace them. They're a whole, it's not just a sensor itself, it's a whole sub-assembly that gets replaced.
Okay. Here's a question about downloading data. To what is data manually downloaded on traditional loggers? I think the question is to what device, meaning.
Right. It would be a PC. It would be a PC or a Mac, either one of those platforms, either a Windows 10 platform or any Windows platform and the Mac operating system platform. There's a lot of devices out there now that are using pseudo Windows or pseudo iOS. Our software will not be supported on those devices, so you really need a full-blown Windows operating system or a Mac operating system.
Let's see. How often do the RH sensors need to be replaced?
Well, that is a good question. Most of the time, our RH sensors will last multiple years without a problem. Most of the time, the only reason they need to be replaced is if they failed, and usually that happens when the relative humidity is maintained at a high level and they don't have a chance to dry out. They will fail if they're exposed to high relative humidity for long periods of time without a drying cycle in between. And I think that's it.
All right. And let's see, at what height should data loggers be placed, for example, in a warehouse, so that traveling air employees would not interfere with the received data?
Yeah, a lot of times in a warehouse, they'll suspend the loggers with fishing line to the areas that they want to monitor. It's above the level, height of individuals walking back and forth and whatever, and it maintains the a whole area above them to monitor the temperature and relative humidity. So slightly above the room or the height of the employees.
And our loggers have those little handle brackets that you can.
You can handle. Yep, you can suspend
use
them.
The wire. Yeah.
Use the fishing wire to suspend them so that they're right there, and you know, those are especially good applications for the MX series loggers because you don't have to climb up and get a ladder to download the data from the MX. You can stand underneath it, and as long as it's not 60 feet or higher, you can download the data to your device.
Great. All right, let's see. What type of sensors are recommended for use in the HVAC air streams and ducting?
You can use our sensors, have worked fairly well in those streams, depending upon exactly how fast the air is going by. At worst case, you'd have to use a small shield to protect the loggers from being blown apart if the air is going by at a tremendous rate of speed. But most of the time, our loggers with the external cables can be mounted in a duct and will give you a fairly accurate reading of what's going on
all right.
in the airflow.
For the Bluetooth loggers, will the data be stored in the logger if there is no Bluetooth connectivity?
Yes, that is the case. The data is normally there's no Bluetooth connectivity for weeks at a time, and the data is automatically stored just as it would be in one of our traditional loggers. And then when someone comes by with their Bluetooth device and wants to download the data from it, they'll download the data.
Okay. And is the humidity sensor portion resistive or capacitive?
Capacitive. It's capacitive.
Yes.
And it's a Sensorion type capacitive relative humidity sensor.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like we have one more question here. Are there any outputs related to the data loggers to control an event?
No. The output controls of our loggers is very limited. We only have 2 logger types that actually have a relay output that could use to control an alarm or something like that. Actually 3 versions, I guess. We have our U14, which is an older type logger. It actually has a relay contact closure that can be set for relative humidity or temperature trip points. We also have the U30, which has a relative humidity and has a relay that could be sent to trigger an alarm, and you can use that to any of the sensors that are connected to it to trigger that. And you can also get a relay module for the RX3000, which would allow you to trigger an alarm or close the relay at any of the sensor conditions.
I think we've got most of them. Can the RX3000 systems send email alarms?
Yes, they can send an email message to you, either a text, send a text message to your phone or an email out. And the number of people that you can contact with that email is 256. So you can send 256 of your close friends an email if the alarm conditions are set up and you want to send them out.
And can you receive an email, a text message or an email from the from HOBO Mobile?
No, that's not an option on HOBO Mobile.
Okay.